case you couldn't figure it out from the title, I'm pretty much going to reveal everything about Slaughterhouse-5 and every other book I review. Everything. So if you don't want to spoil the ending, don't watch this video until you've actually finished the book. Alright, so Slaughterhouse-5 by Kurt Vonnegut was a fantastic book by my standards. Writing style was pretty straightforward, nothing too fancy, except for the part where the main character, Billy Pilgrim, traveled through time. First it was every other couple of pages, and by the end of the book, it was about every other paragraph. Now, I read this book in one sitting, and when I do that, it tends to make the whole book a bit blurry. And that's the case with this book, and the fact that the character was traveling through time the entire storyline does not help. So, I'm a bit fuzzy on some details, but for the most part, I followed the story quite nicely. Basically, so Billy Pilgrim is a soldier in World War II, and he's captured by German soldiers during the Battle of the Bulge, and then he and his allies are kept in a slaughterhouse in Dresden, which is later bombed, and they're some of the only survivors. And this part comes in where he is sent to Tralfamadore by aliens called Tralfamadorians, and these aliens see in the fourth dimension, meaning that they can see through time basically, and they know exactly what's going to happen to everyone and everything. And I really like the concept of this book. Basically, what's going to happen will happen. There's no way you can change it. And Billy Pilgrim becomes convinced by the Tralfamadorians that this is the truth, and he sort of starts to live by these standards. And by accepting this time travel idea, he's able to travel to any point in his life up to his death. And he was murdered by a hired assassin, basically. I forget the character who was out to get him, but he wanted to get revenge on him for killing, or for sort of helping kill his friend, Weary, I believe it was. Sorry I'm fuzzy on the edges in this book, but I shouldn't read books in one sitting to begin with. So, I found it a very confusing book just because there was no solid story to follow. You sort of had to piece the little bits and stories together to make it one consistent story. And you can figure out what happens sort of easily, but it's just really confusing. I think a couple times he even went back to the same point in his life. About midway through the book, he went to this point where he was in a plane crash, and then he talked about how Billy Pilgrim's wife was rushing to the scene, and then she died of carbon monoxide poisoning. So, I believe her name was Valencia. And he didn't seem to care for her too much, which was interesting. He just sort of accepted her, and don't really get why he married her. Bit unclear on that. But, I thought this book had a really cool concept, and like I said, I really like the idea that there's only one reality. And I wouldn't say Kurt Vonnegut believes in destiny, or rather Billy Pilgrim believes in destiny, but he just thinks that there is really only one outcome to any situation. Which makes sense if you think about it. Like, say I flip a coin and you'd say it could be heads or tails, but in reality, if you really want to do the math, find out how fast it's spinning, how long it's in the air, you could actually figure out which side it's going to land on. There's only one starting point for everything, and as a result, there's only one ending, no alternate realities or anything. So, this was a fantastic book, and after reading this, I've got to go out and read some more Kurt Vonnegut, definitely. But, so give me some feedback, thoughts on the book. I would say, out of 10, if I were to give it a score, I would say it's an 8 out of 10. This was a great book. The next book we're going to read is Life as We Knew It by Susan Beth Pfeffer. If you want to pronounce that last name for me, feel free. This book is sort of sci-fi, but not like alien sci-fi, like Slaughterhouse-5. It's about when a meteorite hits the moon and sends it closer to Earth, and then causes the tides to change and makes weather get all messed up. Basically, I don't know a whole lot about it because I haven't started reading it yet, but I thought it looked interesting. And in fact, I was going to go out and buy this book, and then someone brought it up in book club. I'm actually reading this for my school book club. But yeah, this book looks pretty interesting. So back to Slaughterhouse-5. I don't understand how this book is considered fiction. It sort of bugs me that some genres just can't be considered a classic. I mean, Slaughterhouse-5 is, by definition, a classic book. And naturally, it has to be fiction, because critics seem to have something against sci-fi and fantasy. I think the only fantasy book or fantasy series that's considered classic would be Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. But that's just about it. So this is definitely a sci-fi book with the whole time travel thing and the aliens. I just don't understand how that can fit into the fiction category. I'm pretty sure none of this was possible. Unless the main character was deranged from all the things he'd seen and more. I thought about that too. I wondered if he was actually time traveling or if he was just going crazy. I'm going to stick with him just time traveling because that's a lot cooler. So, but anyway, I'll review this book 2 weeks from now. You can probably pick it up from your library. Otherwise, it's $17, which I don't think anyone's going to pay for a book they've never read before. But, that's just about it. So, thanks for watching.